In this video, we are going to tell you about our experience of setting up the Presonus StudioLive 32SC for the worship ministry at our church. I think this mixing console is one of the best tools available for churches that are smaller, maybe mid-sized churches looking for a mixing console that's under that $3,000 price point. So in this video, we're just gonna tell you about our experience of using this console for the first time, and we're gonna share with you what we love about this console as well as what we don't love about this console. Coming up. My name is Jake Goslin. I'm the creator of churchfront.com, helping you lead gospel-centered and tech-savvy worship. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your worship ministry. And today I am joined by Spencer Trefzger. He is the sound engineer at Mission Lakewood, and he is one of the instructors for Worship Leader School and worshiptechschool.com. So I actually wanted to have Spencer join me for this video to tell you a little bit more about our first impressions using this sound console. So I'm coming at this as the worship leader, and he's coming at this as the audio engineer for our church. So let's first talk about why did I choose to get this mixer in the first place. So a couple weeks ago, I was just browsing online. I was going on the very dangerous website called sweetwater.com, and I saw they were featuring this mixing console just released by Presonus, the StudioLive Series 3S series. So they, just like other companies we know, like Apple, they have like practically the same product, but they put an S after it. And what they've done with this console, based on what I'm reading here on this website, is they basically have improved the DSP, or the digital signal processing, sound processing. I don't even know what DSP stands for. They improved the brains of this thing so that it's just much more powerful when it comes to routing and creating different, what they're calling flex mixes, as well as effects processing. So when I saw this mixing console on Sweetwater, I got excited because I've been using the X32 or M32 line of digital consoles for the past, seems like a decade now, and Music Group, who owns Behringer and Midas, they haven't really improved their entry-level digital console very much over the past few years, whereas I see companies like Presonus actually updating their mixing consoles and making lots of great improvements, to the point now where I actually think this has so many more advantages over the M32. We're gonna make a different video about that in the very near future for you, comparing those two digital consoles. So that's the first reason I bought this. It's a new release from Presonus, and I thought it'd be cool to have because it seems like it's a really great improvement in affordable digital mixing. And I am just really passionate about giving you guys the best information out there in terms of what are the best tools for digital mixing for worship ministry. So that's another reason I just wanted to get my hands on this so we can make some videos about it for you, as well as make our online courses for Worship Leader School and Worship Tech School. Because as course creators, we want to be able to teach you these concepts in the clearest, most effective way possible. So this sound console, along with its companion app, does a great job at that. So you can understand how signal processing works, how routing works. It just makes it much easier for us to teach you that versus some of the other consoles out there I don't think do a great job at having a simple user interface or a companion app. So that's another reason why I wanted to get this console. So when I went ahead and purchased this console and the network stage boxes, it ended up being a total of about $3,400. The console itself, this is a StudioLive 32SC console, costs $2,000, and then we got a 16-channel stage box, which was $800, and then we got an 8-channel stage box for $600. And I'm gonna put links to these items below in the description of this video so you can purchase these things yourself if you want to go this route. But at the end of the day, $3,400 for a cutting edge mixing console and 2 stage boxes, which give us plenty of inputs and outputs on stage. It's a pretty good deal. Now I wanna unpack the actual setup process, because when you buy a new mixing console and you wanna actually use it at your church, there's quite a few things you need to make sure are in place before you just plug it in on Sunday morning and hope everything goes smoothly. So I actually put in, I probably put in, I don't know, 4 hours the week prior into like intentionally setting this board up the way I wanted. And then Spencer, you even put in another like full day's worth of time into this. That's actually when he created another video that kind of gives you a more in-depth walkthrough of how this board works. But I wanted Spencer, our sound guy, to actually know this console before Sunday came, because I didn't want to be like, here's Spencer, here's our new console. You know, this is a horrible idea. So just make sure everybody on your team who needs to know how to use a tool like this knows how to use that tool before Sunday. So the first question I asked was, how can we optimize this board for the most convenience for whoever is running the console on a Sunday morning? And probably my favorite thing, one of your favorite things I know about this console, is the user bank. So what it allows you to do is you can have the 16 channels here on this first page. You can basically assign these faders to whatever input channels, DCA groups, mixes, submixes, or effects that you want. And that just makes it super easy to be able to like have really everything you need, like 99% of the time during a service is right there on this one page. And you don't have to be scrolling around being like, oh no, where's the effects? Oh, where's the input bus thingy, DCA group or whatever. It's all right here. I'm actually gonna play back some audio so you guys can hear what's going on. So these first 4 faders, what I wanted to have was a quick way to mute or unmute the entire band. So what we did is we created 4 DCA groups, and we have vocals, drums, Ableton tracks, and then the rest of our instruments. So now, at the beginning of service, a couple of seconds before countdown, all Spencer has to do is go like this, and now he can unmute or mute everything really quickly, as well as just have those 4 groups right here with these 4 faders if he needs to make adjustments. So if he makes adjustments to this vocal channel, look at these vocal faders are going up and down. Same thing, actually the drums you can't see because those aren't on this page at all, but Ableton tracks, and then other instruments as well. So we have the 4 DCA groups right here. Then we have lead vocal, my vocal, then Ashton's vocal. Usually that's just kind of a talk back mic because he's kind of MDing for us. Then we have Sarah, another lead vocal. And then we have keys. And then even what's cool about putting things on the user page is the keys are actually taking up 2 channels, 11 and 12, but you can put just 11 on the user page here, and then you're still gonna be affecting that channel 12, even though you're just putting this fader up and down because they're linked.
Yeah, you have to link them as a stereo pair for them to follow each other.
Exactly, and then we have acoustic, bass, tracks, and then Ableton, same thing with the stereo linking there. And then we have a quick access to our verb, our regular verb, then we have a longer verb, then we have our Pro Presenter computer, and then we have our 2 Pastor microphones right here. And then if he does need to go over here, we have access to a slap delay that we have applied to it. So that's like one of my favorite things about this. And when we set it up, I just wanted to be really intentional like about how we're using these first 16 channels. If we had more instruments and stuff like that, you probably would end up having to put more on the second bank here. But it's much easier doing that rather than having to go to the inputs page and control channels that way, or even have to go to the DCA groups page. We don't have to do that. It's all right here. So once I kind of figured out the overall layout of my channels on the board, the next thing I did is I actually connected this MacBook Pro, and you actually see this happening right now. I connected this Pro Tools session to the sound console so we could do a virtual sound check. So then when I started building monitor mixes, I could actually start building rough mixes for all of our individual musicians so they didn't have to build it from the ground up. It would be ready to go from them. So Spencer, unpack for them then how we have our mixes arranged here on the left side.
Yeah, so running mix outs on this board is great because they call them flex mixes, and you've got 16 of them. And what these mixes can be, if you go main mix here, I'm seeing everything, but as soon as I hit 1, I've still got all my input channels here, 1 through 32 on those 2 pages, but it's already flipped these faders to the sends. And so I don't have to go through and hit fader flip and have 2 different sides of my board doing different things. It's very simple. I just go to whatever mix I want, and it brings up every input I have, and all I have to do is say how much do I want of each instrument in this person's monitor mix in their ears.
So here's how we actually laid out these mixes and the order of them, and you'll actually see them labeled. So mix 1 is wireless ears 1. This is the wireless pack I usually use. Wireless ears 2 is what Sarah usually uses. She's our other worship leader. And these are just Sennheiser packs. They're mono mixes, so each of them only take up one of these mixes. And then mix 3 is headphone amp mix 1. Mix 4 is headphone amp mix 2. And then we have mix 5 and 6 is a stereo mix for our keyboardist Ashton. So 5 is left and 6 is gonna be the right side of that. And then 7 and 8 is for our drummer Luke. He has a stereo mix as well. So that's just kind of the way we wanted to order things. Made the most sense. It's kind of fun when you're setting up a mixing console like this. You get to kind of rethink like what's gonna make the most sense for our musicians and make things most convenient.
So when it comes to effects, it's also really easy to set up on this board, which is great. There's a shortcut button right here to bring up the effects rack. Like most mixers of this size, there's 4 dedicated effects returns. And so I just go, and they've got A, B, C, and D right at the bottom here, dedicated buttons that I can get to at any time, which I really like. So if I go to one here, it opens up, it's set to the vintage plate reverb. What I can do is I could drop down this menu here. I can pick from all different kinds of reverbs and delays, and I can use this little knob here to get down and see what else I've got. And then there's also a lot of presets. There are no presets for reverbs, but inside the delays, there's a lot of presets. There's even presets for some of your other dynamic settings like compressors. So that's a really quick way to just get something that works right away, and then you can dial it in from that later. And again, just like our mix buses on 1 through 16, we've got A, B, C, and D here. If I go to effect A, again, it automatically flips the faders to being on send. And so since this is a vocal effect, all I have to do is go to my vocal channels, push them up to Unity to say I want to send these channels to this effect return, and it's done. It's ready to go. And there's some great shortcut buttons up front, which is one of my favorite features of this thing, that if I want to engage a long reverb or long delay without having to flip pages, all I have to do is just tap a button, it's ready to go. And if I've got them on my user group, which I do, I can ride the fader about how much effect I want to use based on where we are in the song dynamically.
The next thing I did to ensure that our setup went really smoothly on Sunday was to configure the network stage boxes that we have for this sound console. So, like I said, I got one stage box that is part of this sound console ecosystem that has 16 inputs and 8 outputs. That stage box is situated in the actual rack we have on stage. We store a few other things in that rack like microphones, and we have our headphone amps there as well. It's just kind of our primary rack. That's where our other stage box used to live. So I put the larger one there, and we plug more instruments and vocal mics into that one. And then the 8-channel stage box actually lives behind the drummer. And this is great. Before we actually ran an analog snake from our Behringer stage box that we used to have across the stage to the drums, and it kind of looked sloppy, it didn't look as clean. And when I purchased this board and the stage boxes, I thought it'd be cooler and sound better and just look more organized to actually have a second smaller stage box for our drummer. So now he has all of his inputs from the drum mics, and his outputs for his in-ear monitors are just all going directly from the stage box to that digital network that brings everything to and from our sound console. So probably the most important thing I did when I was here in the office was I actually went through, and this was a little bit tedious, but I labeled our stage boxes. So not only did I label each of the channels on the stage boxes with which device or instrument or vocal mic is going to be plugged into them, I also labeled all those inputs with the patch number for the AVB network. So AVB is the protocol that this sound console uses to send audio digitally to and from different devices. So I wanted to make it as easy as possible so that when we plug things in on a Sunday morning, we not only know what channel it's being plugged into on the actual stage box, but what's more important is knowing what channel on the AVB network is this being plugged into. So then when we're at the console and we're adjusting the inputs on a channel, we can select that channel, we can hit network here if we want to change it to the network. So you'll see it's assigned to number 9 on the AVB network, and no audio is coming through here now because that's not how we're running sound right now. We're actually using the USB inputs. So we just wanted to make it as quick and convenient as possible. That's why I took plenty of time to label all those inputs as well as all of our outputs, so we know where all the in-ear monitoring outputs are needed to be plugged into. And the last important step was to make sure all of our musicians had the mobile app installed on their phone so they could adjust their in-ears. And then once that was ready to go, we did a sound check. And of course, we did kind of a rough mix of these channels. You spent some time getting a rough mix while we were in the studio here, but it really didn't take that long. I think we probably spent 15-20 minutes to run through all the individual drum mics, vocal mics, guitar, piano tracks. Like, some of these things don't require that much processing at all. But what was that experience like the first time processing everything live with this board?
I think it went pretty smoothly. I mean, we're a setup teardown church, so if you aren't and you're putting the system in and you've done the work during the week before Sunday, you'll have absolutely no problem. I think we were probably half an hour behind schedule, which I think was pretty remarkable. But yeah, you know, it always sounds different in the room, and you've got weird frequencies that come through, and you really, as far as gain goes, that was the main thing we couldn't set up. This board, when you run USB in like we're doing from Pro Tools, it bypasses the preamps, so you have no clue where the gain is set for the actual channel. So that was the first thing we had to do. And when we adjusted that, we obviously had to change a little bit of our compression and gate thresholds. But I think once we got through the drum kit and got the vocal mics at an acceptable spot, I mean, everything else was pretty good. It was really getting the talkback mic set at a proper level, making sure everyone knew how to use the app for the first time for their ears, and then getting the ears good.
So we implemented this console for the first time this past Sunday, and it actually went really, really well. I really liked the sound I was hearing from my ears. I liked what I heard. For the little bit I was able to stand next to Spencer during some of the sound check stuff. Of course, I'm on stage most of the time, so I'm not sure what that's like. I feel like there was a difference in terms of audio quality. And this is comparing it to the M32, which is our normal sound console, but there's a certain amount of clarity that I had just not heard before with our other console.
Yeah, I noticed that every musician commented to me that their ears were brighter and clearer than they'd ever had. And I think the overall mix just had a lot less noise. And considering that we'd done one Sunday and maybe an hour's worth of work to get it sounding good compared to the probably 100 hours we'd spent on the Midas system, I was really, really impressed with the level of quality that we were getting from the system. It was just clean. There weren't any weird frequency issues. I mean, some rattles we'd had in the room that we'd been fighting in the other board for weeks and weeks was gone the first time we ran the system. But for the most part, I mean, throwing a brand new board in that no one's ever seen or touched before on a setup teardown church, it could have gone a lot worse.
Our team loves us. It's like every week, or me specifically, is like, hey, we're doing Dante this week. Hey, we're doing a completely new sound console this week. So let's talk about the downsides of this board and the things that, the things that I'm not a huge fan of. Number one, speaking of Dante, this does not have Dante compatibility, which is a huge bummer, because like 2 weeks ago, I like ordered the Dante card for our Midas, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And then I was like, ordered this console, I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing in the world. But then I realized you can't put a Dante card in this. There's no expansion card for it. It's because it uses the AVB protocol, which is great. It's a really solid protocol, and Presonus doesn't have to like pay Dante licensing for their protocol or whatever. Hopefully someday they're gonna come out with some sort of device that allows like AVB and Dante to communicate with one another, but that's a huge downside. So this week we had to go back to using a lot of those audio interfaces and stuff like that that we use for our Ableton rig and our keyboard rig. But like in the end, it's like, I feel like this board, the good sides of this board like kind of overcome that one major downside. Another downside is that the mobile app for mixing in-ears is pretty glitchy. So it functions fine when you fire it up, you connect it to the console over Wi-Fi, and it works great. But I found like every time I closed the app and then I went back to use it, it just wasn't responsive, and I would have to quit the app on my phone and restart it. It takes like just a couple seconds to do, and then it was functional again. And it just kept doing that over and over. It happened to our other musicians as well. So Presonus, please fix your app. It's a great app. It just stops working and you have to restart it like every 2 minutes. Spencer, tell us about how much you love the touchscreen on this.
I was really excited when we finally had a mixer with a touchscreen, and then I tried using it, and I realized that when I touch things, it doesn't often, now it's working.
Now it's working. But we get your point. It doesn't always like work.
Well,
sometimes you have to like double tap it, or it's just not.
Yeah, there's certain buttons on here that are like the computer's looking at an area this big, and I have fat fingers, so this is like my worst nightmare, is like trying to do something on the fly in a live environment and just having to tap, and it's not listening to me. So that could be better, for sure, but it didn't affect anything mission critical for the most part. If you need to fix something, you don't need the touchscreen, it's just faster. And running the app on the mobile device next to me did save me a couple of times because that was easier to use.
So Presonus, please improve your touchscreen technology. I don't know, this technology seems like it shouldn't have that many problems because it's been around forever now. But hey, just please improve the touchscreen. But other than that, I do love the touchscreen though, because there's some consoles out there that don't have it. But there's even things about the touchscreen too, like it can't like scroll. Like it seems like a simple idea. Like say if I want to go through something with a lot of like, here's a good example. So here, if I want to go to audio routing in and then digital patching, like I should be able to just scroll. But it doesn't do that. You have to use this little knob here, which is not that big of a pain when you get used to it, but like it just seems like putting a scroll feature on a touchscreen wouldn't be that difficult to do. So Presonus, if you're watching this video, please add scrolling to the touchscreen or come out with a new board that has a scrolling touchscreen.
Another thing I would improve is just the onboard effects are pretty limited. You basically only get reverbs and delays, and that's good enough for most of us, but I just felt like you kind of had your hands tied when you're trying to really dial in what you want to do. Like we like to run parallel compression through an effects rack on the mixer we used to use. You can still do that through a subgroup on here, which is a nice feature, but that effect is completely gone. You can't do vocal compression in the same way parallel because it's not on the effect rack. I know that Presonus has a list of effects plugins that you can add to the system, but it just was odd to me that it came with so many iterations of the same two effects. It would have been nice to have on a digital board that has so much capability, more different kinds of effects instead of more iterations. There's like 9 different reverbs and 8 different delays. I really don't think we need that. I would have preferred to have choruses and compressors and pitch shifters to help with Sunday morning issues. No, I'm just kidding. But I would have been nice. So Presonus, thanks for making stuff available on your website. But if you're looking for ways to improve, maybe take 15 minutes and put that on the tiny hard drive in this guy.
I do feel like the plugins it comes with, like first of all, they do cover all the foundational stuff you need, like good verb, good delay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it in terms of, and good compression too.
The
extra compressors, like all the important stuff is there.
Yeah.
It's just not like the other, like the X32 line or M32 where they have like a bunch of funny effects you can apply and that are kind of unnecessary anyway. And you can go on Presonus website and you can actually download bundles of other plugins and stuff like that. So I think because it has more powerful DSP and stuff like that, like these, I think the quality of these effects actually sounds better. That's just my gut feeling about it. Like I think it's a really good quality sound. I think they're going for quality over quantity here with effects. Overall, a great sound console, and if you want an in-depth walkthrough of how this sound console works, Spencer actually made a really great video on that, and he'll walk you through how processing and all that stuff works on this. So if you're considering getting one for yourself, you have a much better idea of how to set it up and how to get going with it. And if you want to learn more about implementing the latest tech in your worship ministry or worship tech ministry, make sure you check out worshipleaderschool.com or worshiptechschool.com. Depending on if you're a worship leader or worship tech team member, you'll find the one that's most appropriate for you. So the links for that are below in the description. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, smash that thumbs up button and share it with your friends. You can check out some related content right over here. And don't forget to subscribe to the Churchfront channel so you can continue to receive all of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your worship ministry.